good.
But it's gonna be Florence Bomb that's going to make a lot of the difference. Ladies and gentlemen, Zeta Division is going to be in the grand finals.
But not good enough.
They have everything to play through.
Okay, well,
oh my God,
okay that everyone on the floor but Toronto Ultra out of their seat.
저도 이득인 라쿤이라. 그쵸? 여기서 경기 끝.
If you were Zeta Division, these words have always described you. This roster has been regarded as the third best Overwatch team in the world, but consistently falls behind the two titans of Korea, and he's yet to even make it to international competition in OWCS. 2024 Asia Stage 1, third place, eliminated by Falcons. 2024 Korea Stage 2, second place, eliminated by Falcons. And most recently, the 2024 Soup Cup, second place, eliminated by Crazy Raccoons. The gap is so infuriatingly small between Zeta and the top two. Zeta has beaten Falcons twice before, and consistently takes maps off of both teams in almost every series, but yet again, not good enough. In 2025's first stage of Korean OWCS, things were shaping up to be more or less the same. Zeta beat everyone in groups besides Falcons and Crazy Raccoons, but having taken a map off of both of them, it was clear the fire to be the best hadn't died out yet. Something that has forever defined Zeta Division is their unwillingness to stick to the hard meta. Out of all of the best teams in Korea, Zeta is always trying to play their own game. This makes them particularly scary whenever the meta is open and undefined, which hasn't really been the case since Hazard was released. That was all about to change. On February 13th, Overwatch made its biggest announcement yet, adding perks to the game. While some were mediocre at best, others entirely shifted the viability of certain heroes right before the seeding decider matches for Korean OWCS. Right after this game-changing patch, Zeta have to play both Falcons, a known bracket demon of theirs that they have a 2-4 record against, and Crazy Raccoons, a team that not only have Zeta Division never beaten before, but a team that has only ever lost to Team Falcons since its inception. If Zeta Division want to put themselves at the top of Korea, destroy their demons, and be the first ever to beat Crazy Raccoons besides Falcons, now is their chance. Two games were played earlier in the day, with Zeta's match being the final. As the first look at pro play since perks, Zeta's chances looked great. The meta was open, with all of the tanks on your screen right now having been played. We roll out on their game versus Falcons on Samoa, with Ana and Pharah banned, and we're in a Mauga mirror. This doesn't bode well for Zeta. Mauga Juno Brig is undoubtedly one of Falcons' best comps. 2 of only 5 wins that they have over Crazy Raccoons were in a meta defined by this very composition. Nonetheless, we roll out to first fight with Falcons on high ground and Zeta playing point. If Falcons allows the game to reach a deadlock, Zeta will capture point and percentage will start ticking. To stop this, they send Fielder and Proper onto an off angle, while Hanbin looks to drop point and fight Bernard, but they've fallen right into Zeta's trap. Hanbin is in the center of point and has to use his cardiac to survive, while Bernard is close to cover and can back away with just a speed ring. With this cooldown advantage, Zeta is able to capture point, setting up angles around it with Violet and Alpha Yi. Hanbin tries to engage on the Violet, but Zeta is quick to run in and punish it with the Orbital Ray. This has been built so quickly thanks to the poke Bernard was intentionally taking for the exact purpose of building it. This next fight could prove tough for Zeta, who are now at a disadvantage without their Orbital Ray. But instead of playing to bait Falcon's Ray and Kite, they opt to crash Falcon's rotation with their Overclock, hitting them and picking off Stalker before Chio has any chance to pop his ultimate. They finish the fight 50% and counting, and Zeta had made sure everyone knows they're here to win. Their engagement last fight wasn't just a surprise play though. This open space next to spawn is a really powerful place for defenders to hold. It has almost no cover, and it's so hard to sustain any damage taken here. Zeta aren't down for a fair fight with an ultimate disadvantage 3-5, so they sprint in with Speed Ring and Alpha Yi's Blade, hoping to execute Chiyo through his orbital ray, and while they were unsuccessful, the biggest mistake of this fight was actually Finn's failure to flip the map, giving Proper's Dragon Blade an elimination. Stalker uses Overclock for the finish, and Falcons win the team fight. Let's slow down for a minute and talk perks. Every player now has a minor perk, so let's talk about the impactful ones, as well as why perks may be playing a role and why they're in a Mauga mirror. The support perks being picked, Morale Boost and Familiar Vitals, both provide more overall sustain to the composition. Brig doesn't proc Inspire much in poke phase, so making it longer is super relevant for this comp, and faster lock-on for friendlies means that Juno missiles can act as a much stronger disengagement tool. Both Maugas are running 2 hearts, which is always going to be helpful for a hero who zones off the enemy tank, since it makes contesting point that much harder and urgent. As for why this comp is being run at all, Mauga, Brig, and Juno all have extremely broken major perks that both teams are building towards. Cardiac is already basically an immortality field for Mauga, and Combat Field just makes it that much better. Master Blaster makes Juno better at helping fight off enemy DPS on angles, and both Brig's majors are extremely broken. With the ability to either make your DPS immortal or chunk enemies against walls, it's not hard to see why she was picked over Lucio in this matchup. For the next fight, it's Falcons' turn on the defense, and because Zeta all died quickly, Falcons are unable to attempt a similar spawn hold, but that doesn't mean they won't play forward. Hanbin starts far up and is forced to pin out since he wasted his cardiac early. Or did he? No. Hanbin is a great player, and Falcons are currently playing 4D chess with Zeta Division's Brain, JoJo Bizarre Adventure style. Hanbin used his Cardiac Overdrive early, which would give Bernard a completely free kill onto Hanbin if he could hit the cage on him. If Hanbin can start his pin before Bernard hits cage, then Hanbin is free to pin out of it, but there's a problem. It's too obvious. Pinning out of enemy Mauga's cage is nothing new. It's a well-known way to bait the ultimate, and Hanbin using Cardiac is just another way to telegraph that it's about to happen. So Bernard doesn't even pop the cage and just walks forward, chasing Hanbin after pin, but this is the opening that Falcons were playing for. With everyone chasing Hanbin after his obvious bait, nobody is contesting Fielder or Proper, who now have an amazing off angle onto Zeta's backline, engaging with Rally, gunning it into Violet and taking him out. While Fielder dies due to Bernard's cage, it's not nearly enough since Hanbin returns to the fight with his own, leading to Bernard and Alpha Yi's deaths and winning this fight for Team Falcons. Falcons literally said, "You may have outsmarted me, but I outsmarted your outsmarting." Despite the desync earlier, both Junos have their next orbital ray at the same time for this next fight, so Zeta Division are going to need a different advantage in order to make this work. Flora has overclocked just a few percentage points before Stalker, so Zeta run in instantly. Falcons match with Ray, but their map flip is worse, and with Zeta Division using a whole extra ultimate, they clean this fight easily. Zeta Division push up to try to spawn camp Falcons and stop the point touch. Hanbin swaps to Ball, manages to touch, and forces Zeta to kite, but Stalker tries to catch this with Overclock. Stalker is running the Overcharge perk, which means that Sojourn's ultimate can now one-shot. This means that a single misstep is able to take out Flora. Violet tries to fight Stalker with Rally, but Proper is there for the Dragon Blade to clean up. Falcons win this fight, and it's one more fight for the point. It's not looking good for Zeta since they barely got regrouped in touch point, and Bernard gets stomped. Fielder pops the Rally, and Falcon's backline kites to stop Alpha Yi's blade, but Hanbin is trying too hard to punish Bernard and gets split for a free cage and kill onto him, with Flora picking Fielder. The first point of this round has gone to Zeta Division. Next point, we see that the two Brigidos have chosen different majors. Violet has Whiplash and Fielder has Quick Fix. This means that Falcons are playing more to enable their DPS's aggression, while Zeta Division aren't able to do so nearly as well. We see that Zeta is aware of this, since Alpha Yi and Flora pick Meditate and Dual Thrusters, two perks that are very favored towards sustaining and surviving, as opposed to Proper and Stalker's Adhesive Siphon and Blade Twisting, which are much more there for extra damage and value. Zeta Division once again roll out to the point, looking to take advantage of two hearts while Falcons take the building to wrap around the angles with their DPS, yet again reflecting these differences in perks. As the Maugas end up fighting on point, Flora gets a nasty swing onto Hanbin, chunking his health bar, but it's Stalker getting a swing onto Chiyo, which opens and wins this fight for Falcons. Stalker isn't done deadlifting though, because the amount that Fielder has been enabling him with Quick Fix continues to pay dividends. He has his ultimate before anyone else on the field and is happy to open the next fight with it. Zeta Division managed to kite away, and thinking they have their opening to push, they run back in with Speed Ring, but Falcons will not let up. They not only built Sojourn ult first, but Juno as well, messing up Violet's rotation, and without a speed ring to kite, this forces both Rally and Orbital Ray for Zeta just to try to keep him up. But it's not enough as Fielder replies with the Rally of his own, and Violet gets picked. This fight looks bad for Zeta, but it's okay, kitten. Daddy is here, says Alpha Yi as he pops the Dragon Blade and kills 3, turning this fight back in Zeta's favor, capping point. Falcons try to come back and win the stagger fight, but Flora gaps Stalker, Bernard pops Cage, and Zeta Division go into the next fight 40% and counting. Alpha Yi sets up a flank onto Falcon's rotation, and Hanbin decides to hate crime the Japanese because this man got solo ulted. Proper then does some absolutely heinous things to Violet, and Falcons are back in control. We zoom into next fight, and throughout all of this chaos, Finn has somehow managed a significant advantage on Juno ult, which forces Falcons to kite. Bernard decides he must take revenge for what was done to Alpha Yi last fight and pins in super deep, but revenge never pans out well, and Stalker's Sojourn ultimate picks off Alpha Yi, Bernard gets chased down, and Falcons once again have control. With it being last fight, Zeta has to try and make this work, but when confronted with Ray, Rally, and Blade, not much can withstand the pressure, giving Falcons this point. Rolling out onto last point, Zeta should be quaking in their boots. First round was insanely close, but last round felt so one-sided. Most of Zeta's percentage came from Falcons kiting an ultimate. They only won a single team fight. This is a scary mirror to take against them, but Zeta wants the smoke badly as they roll out on it once again. This time, it's Falcons who send their Mauga to point, capturing it, but this is a bad point to do it on. For the other two, Zeta could keep their backline safe while Bernard pressured point, but this play from Hanbin gives Zeta the ability to run Stalker over and then split Falcon's Mauga from his team, chasing him down and killing him. Zeta Division plays so slow on this defense, making Falcons really work for an opening and giving time to build ultimates. Oh boy. Okay guys, we have 2 insane series to go over today. That is a lot of Overwatch. Neither of us have time for me to break down every ult in a team fight, so for crazy fights like these, I'll try to keep it to the engagement ones and the ones that finish the fight. Bernard pins away, baiting Falcons in, popping their Juno ult. Chio and Fielder try to punish this with their own Ray and Rally, and Zeta Division win the scrap just barely. It's crunch time for Falcons. One more fight and they're down in this series. Zeta Division once again play this defense slow to start with. If Falcons overstep, they can get caged and blown up. For both this and the last defense, Alpha Yi has been abusing this little area below the point that's almost impossible for offense to contest, complicating things even further for Falcons. Hanbin is forced to drop down to contest, which pulls the trigger for Zeta Division. Flora invests ult, but Hanbin pins back up to cage him. Flora is ready and slides away with Bernard counter-caging Hanbin. This looks bad for Falcons, but it's Stalker who has the best angle on the team fight, using his own overclock to pick off Flora. Bernard and Violet gets focused down in the cage, but when they go down, it's Falcons who have no supports left. Despite the 3-2 advantage, they don't have the health bars to win this team fight, meaning Zeta Division go up in the series 1-0. With an explosive first map and Zeta beating Falcons at their own game, everyone watching this knew this was going to be a special series. We go into map 2, New Junk City, with Ram and Venture banned. This map we see both teams swap over to the Pharah. She was banned last map, which is why we didn't see her there, but Pharah is one of the best DPS in this Mauga meta. The ability to move in Barrage, as well as basically having Orissa's old pull with her perks, make her kit that was already strong against group comps even stronger. Moving to first fight, we see both teams more or less playing a back and forth on this high ground. Without Tracer or Genji, it's really hard to touch the point without winning the team fight on NJC's first point, so we can expect to see most of this point look like Ring Around the Rosie. Zeta win the initial space by the pillar, and Bernard tries to extend forward with Speed Ring to make room for an engagement. This is met by Hanbin, so Bernard takes a lot of damage. While Zeta Division steps up to catch him, it's Stalker who found an off angle on the other side of this circle, taking out Violet for the pick and pressuring Bernard's stabilize to give first point cap to Falcons. As we go into next fight, Zeta rotate to the other side, and Stalker tries to take an angle again, much like last fight, but Alpha Yi won't let it happen. You see, Alpha Yi's angle fundamentally stops Stalker from moving any further forward, which completely denies him this angle. In Overwatch, it's best to think of the space in a given teamfight much like a square grid or a tic-tac-toe board. If we treat the tanks staring at each other as the most inward part of a position, then we can label off angles as anywhere on the outside of this. When trying to contest an off angle, you shouldn't try to do it from somewhere that's more inward, since it gives them an inherent advantage. If you contest them from an identical position, otherwise known as fighting them on the lane, you have a more or less even duel with them. The best way, however, to win this angle is to go even further on the outside like this. Compare it to awhile, and we can see that his angle is superior, and Stalker won't be moving forward anytime soon. Over time, this corrals all of Falcons together, giving Flora control of this same angle Stalker was trying to play, picking off Chio. This means Falcons can't win the fight, so they reset. For next fight, we actually have some ults on the board, which means people other than DPS may get to play the game. As Falcons roll out, awhile stops them from rotating to the left, so they make their way to the right where Bernard lies in wait. Him and Hanbin counterpin each other, but this is all part of Zeta's plan. Zeta squishies can see this engagement much better than Falcons can, so when both Junos lay down their orbital rays, Stalker has to use his OC to try to zone off the rest of Zeta Division, but awhile's barrage says no way and cleans things up. Also, just thought you'd like to know that Proffer had a horrifically timed flank this fight, and Violet taught him how to spell daddy. Speaking of Violet laying Proper out, next fight sees Hanbin barely touch point and use cage while the rest of Falcons catch up while coming back from spawn, but Violet is on the flank and hoping to stall them. Stalker throws the orb, so Violet backs off for a moment and, thinking that Violet is completely gone, Proper tries to move forward. Violet once again gets wasted and beats his son. With Proper and Hanbin dead, Zeta win the point. Hanbin swaps over to D.Va, which pretty much means Falcons are waving the white flag of surrender to Daddy Violet's Ana, but in an unfortunate turn of events, Violet got picked at the end of last fight and is already in the spawn room, seeing the D.Va swap and swaps to Brig, who, at this level of play, pretty much hard counters D.Va. We once again see Zeta leveraging awhile's angle on this next fight, with Bernard abusing the 2 hearts perk on point. Fielder's rally forces Flora to respond with Overclock, and both Bernard and Stalker get traded. In this 4v4, both teams stabilize, but Falcons still have a tank, so they capture the point. Zeta try to take it back with Orbital Ray, but Falcons have one of their own, and Stalker is back from spawn faster than Bernard with his Overclock, winning the fight. Because of how long this fight lasted with Falcons in control, and because of the staggering, this and some spawn poke is all Falcons need to even the map 1-1. Falcons get to the point first, meaning they have the advantage, and Zeta roll out into a small room. This leaves a perfect opportunity for Proper's ultimate to carry, but Violet is there with Rally for the save, as is Hanbin with Defense Matrix. This looks rough for Zeta Division, trying to fight through this small area with the point so close to unlocking, but Falcons blink and they missed it. During the chaos, Flora has found the off angle. The remainder of Violet's rally forces Falcons to kite, but they can't just run backwards into a Sojourn. Falcons get extremely split trying to kite this, giving Zeta Division 2 picks, but Fielder's rally makes this fight winnable for Falcons, only for Flora's flank to finish things off, giving Zeta point control. Fielder swaps over to Ana, and I'd have a lot to say about this fight if Falcons didn't badly mistime their flank, meaning that a speed ring is all they need to dunk on Fielder Patrick Star style. Next fight, Falcons play for the same setup, but Zeta is so close to the doorway that they once more just one more point and Falcons will be down 2-0 and score to Zeta Division. They've been getting destroyed by awhile's off angles all map. They have to start winning these angle duels if they want to stay in this. They have a huge ultimate advantage going into this fight. Stalker opens with Overclock but is immediately taken out. Proper fires back with a barrage onto Bernard as both teams trade orbital rays, and Chio takes out 2. No angles were even needed here from Zeta Division. Falcons just got outplayed. They were unable to lock down awhile's Pharah, so stacking in a small room smelled disaster for them. Even worse, next fight is theirs to lose, with Zeta Division coming up on Cage and Overclock. Hanbin makes the last-minute swap to Mauga. No matter what, they can't lose this map. They use Hanbin's Cardiac Overdrive to get out of the small room while Stalker swings the left side. They get no kills out of this, but this baits all of Zeta onto Hanbin, who has Proper waiting in the wings with Nano Boost. He takes out awhile, then Flora, then with Stalker's help takes out Violet. Falcons aren't done yet. This next fight has both teams with barrage, but Falcons are coming up on 3 ultimates while Zeta is only coming up on 2. This could be their fight to win, but awhile is on the prowl. While everyone else was resetting and Falcons doubled back to get their respawns home quicker, awhile sprinted out of spawn and found a beautiful barrage target coming back to the point, taking Stalker out. He's not the only one though. Even without their tank, everyone on Zeta has rushed back from spawn, and Flora takes out Proper. Falcons were not expecting this obscene speed and confidence from Zeta Division, giving Zeta the fight they need to win this point and the map. Zeta Division have so much momentum. Winning 2 straight maps means Falcons have one hell of a hill to climb, but it's about to get even steeper. Next map is Esperança with Pharah and Orisa banned. The first half of this map sees Zeta Division getting a seemingly impossible lead of 88 meters to Falcons' only 24. As Zeta Division looks about to blow Falcons out of the water, they may have to hang it up. Getting beaten this badly, they may have to give up their position as second best in Korea. But this is Team Falcons, one of the longest standing teams in all of Overwatch, with a core that previously won the entire Overwatch League. They're not about to go down without a fight. We drop ourselves in the middle of this map with Falcons having an ultimate advantage and point control. Both teams have opted for the Reaper this time around, who has crazy synergy with Mauga using his pre-existing lifesteal, but especially whenever he has the Ravenous Wraith Major perk. This fight shows something very crucial that both teams have been utilizing for a lot of the match in this Mauga mirror. As Hanbin swings this corner, he uses Cardiac Overdrive, which serves 2 purposes. First off, it allows Hanbin to stand here longer and do more damage, which could force Bernard to reply with his own. Second of all, it could bait Zeta Division to run in and punish Hanbin right after the overdrive is over. Both of these things serve the same purpose, giving Chio an even more powerful orbital ray. Either Zeta Division will be stepped forward and have a harder time running away, or they won't have the Cardiac Overdrive to sustain the orbital ray. In this case, it's the former. As Zeta step up to punish the Cardiac, Orbital Ray is dropped and Falcons practically steamroll Zeta Division. The checkpoint is secured and Proper is on the flank. This Reaper ult could change the outcome of the entire match. Bernard is no fool though. He's checking flanks and as he goes he finds Proper, forcing the Wraith, but Falcons won't have it. They must win here and now. Hanbin pins in, dropping the cage while Proper uses Blossom. Zeta lose Violet, Zeta lose Pelican, and Zeta lose Bernard, but Flora gets a pick onto Proper while trying to leave. This could mean disaster for Falcons. Zeta's spawns are so much closer. If Zeta get a touch, they could be looking at a 4v5, but Hanbin once again locks in and manages to make the save, picking Flora on his exit. For Zeta's touch, we have a 4v4, the best Falcons can ask for. Stalker flanks with his copy and forces Finn's orbital ray. Falcons use the rally to sustain, and Proper is back just a few seconds before Flora. With a 5v4 and their ultimates active, Falcons need to win this instant. Hanbin pins in. Pelican tries to ult, and Fielder stops it, but he is unable to escape. Zeta Division are up 1 in the fight, and Hanbin gets stuck in a room. With his kite getting cut, he's picked as well, and Zeta win this team fight. Falcons may have lost that fight, but it wasn't all for naught. They are so close to getting the lead, and Chio has the advantage on Orbital Ray for the next fight. Point gets onto Falcon's side of the map before the next fight, and Pelican is above them on the high ground. Things look dire for Falcons, so Hanbin steps with Cardiac, trying to force Bernard's for the Orbital Ray, but Bernard isn't having it. He steps back and conserves it. This was Falcons' last chance for an advantage, and Hanbin failed to get it. Things look truly dire. If Falcons lose this team fight, they'll be unable to get the lead and will probably lose the series. While Hanbin failed to force the Cardiac, Proper did not. Using what was left of Hanbin's Cardiac, Proper swings onto Bernard and forces his. This is all Falcons need before they can pop their Orbital Ray. However, Zeta Division aren't about to lose that easily. They manage to kite it, forcing Falcons to use Cage and Blossom to finish off the team fight. This isn't the end of the world for Zeta. They're coming up on 4 ultimates for this next fight. This looks good for them. Bernard is stepping forward to touch the point, but this was the decisive moment for Falcons. Fielder booped Bernard away before he pinned. This meant he was late to touch the point. Violet tried to compensate and he was so close. Literally could not have been closer. 0.01 meters. Zeta Division win this fight with their ultimate advantage, but Falcons take the lead. Even if it's only 0.01 meters, that's enough to win the map. It's not over yet for Zeta. After winning this fight, they managed to walk the point all the way to Falcon's side of the map and pass the checkpoint. Zeta Division have to get 0.01 meters. In 1 minute with 1 team fight. If they can do that, they will win this series. Stalker and Proper go for the flank of a century, taking the high ground and flanking with copy. Finn drops the Orbital Ray and Zeta flip the map. While they manage to stabilize, they're too slow to build their ultimates, and now it's Falcon's turn to drop their Ray, cleaning up Bernard and winning the team fight. Zeta Division have time for another fight, but it'll be on their side of the map and it won't be the last even if they win. They step up to try and fight under the bridge, but they're too slow. They need to kite and pin away in order to take the fight further back, but the door is open for Hanbin. He pins in and cages Pelican, who's trying to leave. Proper drops the Blossom for the opening pick, and while they push forward, he finds a flank onto Flora. Falcons have won the map and are still in the series with an absolutely breathtaking comeback. Things aren't all sunshine and rainbows for Falcons yet though. They still need to win the next 2 maps against Zeta Division, who will be picking the maps and banning first. Plus, it took everything they had and basically a C9 from Zeta Division for Falcons to even take a map. If they want to crawl back from hell and win this series, it's going to be rough. Next map is King's Row with Sojourn and Lucio banned. The last time I covered Falcons versus Zeta Division on this map, it was a sight to behold, with a wide variety of compositions, ideas, and teachable moments, and I promise you this one is no different. And hey, it was also my most viewed video ever, so who knows? Maybe this one will follow in its footsteps. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So Falcons roll out on the same comp they won on East Barranca with. Zeta start on a Diva comp, but seeing this from Falcons they opt to go back to Mauga, but crucially keeping Violet on Ana. This isn't the first time we've seen Ana this series. Both teams pulled it out on different parts of NJC, but now is a good time to talk about it. Ana has forever been a solid pick against Juno comps, which usually don't involve a Kiriko and are brawly enough for Ana to hit huge and impactful nades. Not only that, I sung the praises of Briggs' perks earlier, but I think there's a strong argument for Ana having the overall best collection of perks in the game. All 4 are not only viable, but strong and game-changing. For minors, Groggy is solid, making Ana's notorious Sleep Dart even stronger, but it's niche when compared to Biotic Bounce, which gives Nade the potential to do 125 total healing or damage, and the bounce also gives more leeway to the Ana since people can still get antied even if she misses the initial throw. Headhunter is really strong for slower comps, where Ana won't be healing much like the Sig comps we saw in my last video, but Shrike is where the real power is since it gives Ana already insane and versatile ultimate, even more utility and extra survivability, and, in synergy with Biotic Bounce, gives Anti-Nade the potential to do almost 200 total damage. Violet is one of the known greatest of all time on this hero, and we're about to watch to see if he can put on a masterclass. On to first fight. The matchup here is simple. Zeta Division want to shoot their guns while running away from Falcons and building ults quickly, while Falcons want to give Bernard cancer by hard focusing him down with 2 of the best tank busters in the game. Falcons can't risk an engagement when Violet has both CDs, so they just have to sit there and take it. Hanbin gets naded and has to pin away. Despite having all the space in the world to try and take the high grounds, Zeta know that all they have to do is play slow and force Falcons to engage, so they opt for the safer positions around Statue while guarding Hotel. Hanbin tries to holy shit, he exploded, I can't even blame him. Ouch. No tank means no way to close distance means Zeta capture the first point. It's clear already that distance is a problem for Falcons comp, and Zeta makes sure they know it. They just captured first point and have 4 members spamming into third point. Falcons are going to have to pretty much take a full team fight before they even have a chance of getting to the point. Even worse, they're losing the ultimate war badly. Zeta Division could potentially snowball this all the way to third. As Falcons manage to force Zeta back, they opt for a super safe and defensive setup with Pelican in the back to mark any flanks Proper goes for. They have no real way to threaten Falcons right now, but frankly, why would they do anything else? With this much spam, they'll just get an ultimate advantage and win with that. Poke compositions notoriously struggle on offenses because they're too slow to get big enough advantages to win, but Zeta has turned that on its head. I can't get an advantage? That's fine. Death by 1,000 cuts then, I will out-ult you. Hanbin steps forward to bait some cooldowns and then kites away, baiting Zeta Division in. This is the only way that Falcons can try to make room for Proper's flank right now. If Zeta's backline help to push Hanbin, Falcons will win the fight, but the discipline from Violet catches Proper's flank, nanoing Finn for sustain, who promptly kills 3, winning the fight. Next fight, Falcons barely manage to stage to touch before Zeta can cap second. Hanbin is set up close, meaning he can use the cover in the room to sustain, but Violet goes for an extremely aggressive play, just walking in like he owns the place and sleeping Hanbin. Normally this kind of thing won't work since Fielder previously swapped over to Kiriko, but with how many ultimates are on the board for Zeta, one Suzu is simply not enough to save Hanbin. Fielder certainly tries, stretching the Suzu to the absolute last moment, but he's late. 2 members died to the nade before Fielder could even Suzu. Zeta are now on third point. Falcons need an immediate change, so they swap to a comp similar to Zeta's, but Falcons is arguably better since Widow should have a free kill on Ashe anytime she scopes in. Both teams scared of each other's spam means the squishies play super safe and Hanbin tries to touch point and hopefully not get forced for once. Unfortunately for you, this is Violet on Ana. It's the final corner of the map. Pelican has Barrage and Violet isn't far off Nano. Proper, the prodigal son, the once destined to be a legend of the game from his first Overwatch League season, isn't down for getting dominated like this, so he's cooked up maybe the most ambitious play all series. He flies under the map and gives Fielder a TP, meaning Falcons bet all of their chips on a flanking Kitsune rush. Pelican replies with Barrage, picking Fielder, but Proper manages to escape and Violet couldn't rotate out, meaning Falcons finally have some room to breathe. Bernard wants to keep surrounding Hanbin like Zeta's been doing all game, so he pins over to the left side, but Hanbin is tired of his spelling lessons and wants to spell a word other than daddy, so he matches it. Bernard drops to point and Pelican has an idea. If the Prodigy can do it, so can the Veteran. He flies through the abyss and hits a crucial rocket onto Proper, who tries to kite, but Flora is right there for the finish. Hunger for victory flowing through them, Pelican instant transmissions across the map with Nano Boost and ends Stalker. Zeta are winning the team fight, and just in case Stalker thought he was sorry, he obliterates him one more time on the recontest. Zeta Division have capped with over 3 minutes. Right now, Falcons must be feeling immense pressure. Mauga Juno Brig is their comp, and they've been getting dominated on it all series. This is the 4th map, and while Falcons were barely hanging on before, they've slipped and they're falling. But it's about to get even worse though, because Zeta has thrown Falcons the Brain Destroyer. Zeta finally roll out on Diva comp, the true test to see if Falcons can stand their ground under pressure. Despite being on Diva, Zeta's comp works more or less the same on defense. Stop Falcons' aggression at all cost. While Pharah does better spam than Mei, Zeta Division have swapped over to her because controlling the hotel is even more important to stopping Falcons, and Mei is superior at that specific job. Falcons' comp is much the same, but with Genji instead of Ashe. Falcons want to play aggressively, and by God they're gonna keep trying. Hanbin and Stalker try to attack this high ground, but Bernard won't let it happen, and as much as Proper and Chio try, they aren't taking hotel from a Mei. What they can do, however, is force Pelican's attention long enough for the rest of Falcons to take right side and get some space to work with. With it, they secure the ability for Stalker to touch point, while Proper uses this to develop deep and try to reach Flora and Violet, who are drinking mimosas by the poolside right now. Unfortunately, just because you cleared your rotation does not mean the threat is gone. A speed ring and Violet's anti-nade lets Pelican kiss Fielder right on the mouth. The fight looks all but lost, but learn from Proper, my dear viewer. Regardless of what happens elsewhere in the team fight, angles pay dividends as he takes out Violet and Flora. In this 3v3, Falcons may just take the point, especially with their respawns much closer to Zeta's, but those dreams are dashed when Hanbin gets demeched. Falcons may be down, but with their respawn advantage, they don't let Zeta have all the space back for free, holding them off until we reach another 5v5, but from this position. Things are finally looking good for Falcons, with Zeta all choked into a small area, but Daddy's back again with the belt as Violet uses Speed Ring to swing aggressively onto Proper and anti-nade him. This is the second time Violet has frontlined as Ana, but when you have aura akin to Ultra Instinct Goku, you can get away with it. This wasn't exactly intentional, but the nade came at the perfect timing as Fielder has the nano lined up onto Proper and now sends it at a 1 HP hero, making it get no value and taking Nano Blade off the table for Falcons. Proper manages to live and goes in to return the favor to Violet, killing him with Blade. Before he dies, Violet pops a nano onto Bernard, who's able to pressure Proper enough to stop any more kills from coming from the Blade. Meanwhile, much like Proper earlier, no matter what else happens in the fight, angles will pay dividends. This whole time, Pelican ran through Hotel and chased Fielder way away from the fight, meaning he's completely safe to catch Chio as he runs from a nanoed Bernard. Zeta keep pushing, finishing off what's left of Falcons and sending us to the next fight. Falcons can't just give up here. They have to find a way forward, so they force Pelican's Ice Block and use Juno Ult to finish the kill onto him, but Finn is there to save. Hanbin managed to eat Pelican's freeze, but it's just not enough, and Zeta Division win yet another fight. Zeta are running a complete masterclass on King's Row, treating one of the top 3 teams in the world like a bunch of toddlers. At this point, they look like a supercomputer that no matter what you input, it outputs a loss for you. Falcons look ready to give up the silver medal. Violet's Ana and Zeta Division in general have just been too much for them today. If the other team is perfect and has better preparation than you at every turn, the only option is something that you haven't prepared for, something you'd never think of. Violet has been making a case for reconsidering Shu as the GOAT of Ana, but there have been many times where Fielder was most certainly better than both of them, and he's not okay with it being any other way. As Falcons get cleaned up, Fielder finds a flank and stashes himself in the hallway. This is usually quite punishable, but given Zeta's positioning, it's hard to keep control of all the space they've been holding and also go fight this Ana. Maybe it was overconfidence, maybe it was miscommunication, but Flora scouts this and gets greedy. Fielder absolutely destroys him in the duel. There's an Ana with no cooldown, so Bernard goes for the kill and gets it, but the peel from Hanbin takes away his mech. Bernard tries to recover with Bomb, but he needs help from his team. Falcons use this to take out Violet, then Pelican, and finally start to capture this point. Zeta don't want to get reversaled again like they did on Esperança, so they're back just in time for the recontest. Flora swapped over to Cassidy and replied to Proper's venture. He goes for an absolutely massive flank, but there's not enough pressure on Falcons. Bernard has to touch point, so nothing can stop Hanbin from executing Flora. Falcons clean up the rest of Zeta and breathe a huge sigh of relief. It's not over yet. Falcons have all 5 ultimates going into this next fight. Fielder has picked the Shrike major perk and uses it to make a beeline for Zeta's backline, with absolutely huge damage from Nade. He asserts dominance on Violet before getting picked off by Bernard, but too little too late. Zeta has 2 people running for dear life, and those who are on point get picked off. Falcons captured second point as well, just a bit more now. Proper has gone to the Hanzo, probably playing for a one-shot to open up another fight. Zeta are pushed up early for the next fight. They want some space to touch if this goes poorly. Violet goes for the same play that Fielder did last fight, nanoing Bernard and running in, but Falcons have a much better kite than Zeta did. Stalker pops the freeze, and thanks to the nano boost, Bernard looks like he may actually live this, but Falcons will scrap for anything they can get. Hanbin pops the bomb, which demechs Bernard, who pops his own bomb to live. Falcons try to rush in, following up on a wall that Stalker hit onto Pelican, but this just gives Finn the perfect opportunity to pop Orbital Ray, winning this team fight for Zeta. Zeta took everything Falcons had to throw at them and managed to come out on top. But Falcons have both support ults for next fight to just nano for Zeta. Violet steps up for the same play he's been making all map, using Speed Ring to get lost in the crowd and basically frontline for the nade, but Falcons are a supercomputer of their own and finally found the winning input to this play. Chio says, "Go on, anti me. In exchange, I'll take your life." He pops down the Orbital Ray, and Violet is immediately forced to nano to keep himself and Bernard alive through all this damage. Fielder replies in kind with his own nano to live Bernard's dive, and while Pelican has a blizzard, Stalker just barely managed to build his in time to zone off Zeta, and Falcons win this team fight too. Can they do it? Less than a minute is on the clock, and if they cap with time, Falcons are still in this series, ready to reversal yet another map, which could completely shatter what remaining momentum Zeta has. I'll cover up the game mode overlay for you adrenaline junkies watching. Zeta know they don't need to win though, they just need to burn the timer, so that's what they play for. Swaps onto Reaper and Venture are a must for them. Meanwhile, Hanbin and Stalker go to the spawn doors with only one thing in mind. Bernard uses everything he has to pass Stalker and touch the point, leaving him vulnerable to Proper's Dragon. 1 down. Flora TPs to point and lives as long as he can with Wraith. 2 down. Pelican is next with Dig. 3 down. Violet and Finn touch together at the last moment. 4, 5. Falcons capture. Now to see if they reach the goal. Damn. It's officially time to go big or go home. Falcons need to hold Zeta Division for 3 minutes and then win 2 more maps, but mental is absolutely everything. If Zeta get denied yet another chance to win the series just barely, they could crumble. Zeta are back on Mauga, this time with a Venture. Falcons go for a similar hold that Zeta did, but Venture changes the game completely. Try holding Hotel versus this Goblin. Falcons are unable to. This gets them split and they're unable to sustain a point touch. With that, Zeta Division have beat the second best team in the world, winning the series 3-1. While this was absolutely an impressive display, this is nothing we haven't seen before. This was nothing that anyone thought was impossible. This was nothing like what was coming next. We move on to the match against Crazy Raccoons, where Zeta Division have a major problem to tackle. They've been playing Mauga almost this entire time, but Crazy Raccoons are especially good at playing their signature ball into it. Not only that, Crazy Raccoons are simply the better team. I'd like to reiterate that not only has Zeta Division never beaten them before, but nobody besides Falcons has beaten Crazy Raccoons. If Zeta Division want a chance to win this, they're gonna have to be the better team in both Mirror and Crazy Raccoons' incredible arsenal of compositions. We roll out onto Lijiang Tower. Crazy Raccoons had their first ban, so they chose Diva. In reply, Zeta banned Ana. If Zeta can't play Diva, they want to avoid dealing with ball at all costs, but since you can't ban the same role as your opponents, Ana is the best choice. We roll out to Control Center on these compositions. Junbin is on Orisa because, well, Fleeting Bulwark is a really good perk and it's a minor, so he can abuse it pretty much the entire point. Zeta Division try to win the tank trade on point, but they're unable to, getting forced way far back into this uncomfortable space. How do you overcome such a big barrier? How do you do the impossible? How do you slay a god? Bernard was up late the night before, pondering this as he binged Pixar movies, and that's when the answer came to him as if summoned by fate itself.
Speed. Faster than fast, quicker than quick. I am lightning.
Hisang is on a very deep angle in white, and Bernard knows that if you're fast enough, your opponents can't react. He pins in right on the Tor, picking him off. Violet and Alpha abuse Crazy Raccoon's attempt to peel, picking off Choron. Zeta have point control, and they're about to use the Pharah to abuse this narrow hallway while Crazy Raccoons walk in. CR know that this rotation is cooked, so they use the staircase to go directly to white. By doing this, they leave a beautiful and almost unpunishable flank for Alpha to pound them from behind. Did I really write this like that? Junbin tries to run through white hard, right onto Finn, and make space for his team to run from Alpha. Rather than just sustaining Finn and holding space, Zeta know what a threat Junbin is, and everyone doubles back to stop him. Flora picks Chorong, and while Hisang fires back onto Lip, Zeta going onto Junbin gave them control of white. As Crazy Raccoons kite away, Zeta stage up and forward, ready for Juno Ult. Instead of waiting though, they go now, with Bernard going vroom vroom right into Crazy Raccoons. Remember how I mentioned this hallway was great for Alpha Yi's Pharah? Well, here you go. He picks off Hisang, and Choron gets so low that Junbin has to ult to save him. This ult looks huge, but there's a problem. Orisa is durable, but she's not face tank a Mauga and Pharah who are damage amped by Juno ult durable, so Junbin immediately has to drop the ult and play for his life. CR use Overclock to finally get Zeta off of them, who kite it masterfully with Rally. As soon as it's over, Lightning McQueen spoke to Bernard once again and he blasts off to Crazy Raccoon's backline. Caging 3, meaning that even Chorong's beat can't save them from Alpha Yi. Not only did Zeta dominantly control space that fight, they won with 4 ultimates to Raccoon's 5. With overclock advantage, Flora swings main, and instead of worrying about Junbin, Bernard just runs to the backline, saving his pin in case he needs to exit. Lip gets picked, then Junbin, and Zeta win 100-0. Junbin gives up on Orisa in favor of our favorite Samoan, and Crazy Raccoons roll out point on Night Market with Hisang extremely far away, looking untouchable. Alpha Yi quite literally Goku's this guy, saying, "I hear you're strong, come fight me," and zooms over for the duel. Neither of them die, but Hisang is way further from the fight than Alpha Yi, so Zeta go take a 5v4 on point. Junbin gets forced and must back while Alpha Yi boops Lip. Reasonably thinking that he was safe since all of Zeta Division is pushing his team on point, Hisang thinks he can enter the fight now, but Alpha Yi isn't done with spelling lessons, and shows Hisang his favorite words starting with D. Okay, but on a real note, Alpha Yi woke up today and chose violence. This was hilariously unnecessary and risky to take this duel. We see next fight that this was no single fight bloodthirst, but in fact Alpha Yi borrowed the belt and booze from Violet last series because he is a drunken dad ready to beat some kids. Hisang goes to touch point and Alpha Yi abandons any other jobs he may be doing and sicks on him like an attack dog. The rest of Zeta is like, well, can't just let him do it alone. So everyone helps, picking off Hisang. Bernard just barely managed to hold off Junbin in the meantime, so Zeta finished some kills and Crazy Raccoons reset. Next fight, CR realized the Hisang angle isn't working. Let's try Lip, but I think everyone on Zeta Division just wants to take the ego duels at this point because Flora immediately slides over, pops overclock, and tries to pick Lip. The rest of Zeta is here for the follow-up, but so is Crazy Raccoons. Shu gets the Juno ult just a tad earlier than Finn. This could turn the fight, but Bernard has a perfectly timed stomp, and Alpha Yi hacks Hisang's account and changes the B-net to Fraud Sang. A few more Q presses give Zeta this team fight. Game's not over though, as Zeta overulted last fight, giving Raccoons the major ultimate advantage of 3-1. Zeta back to point and Junbin manages to touch. He's got a moment to reset his health bar and heal up before next, but Bernard has NOS pumping in his veins. He heard the advice of 2006's Cars and hasn't let up the gas for a second. Swinging Junbin and forcing an early cage, but Junbin gets picked, sealing the deal for a 1-0 lead in the series for Zeta Division. Anyone who's seen Crazy Raccoons before is probably a bit shocked at just how dominant that was from Zeta. A 200-0 map score is about as brutal of a thrashing as it gets, but nobody was worried since Zeta still has to worry about the problem with no answer, Junbin's ball. Next map is Crazy Raccoon's pick and they go for East Barranca. This makes sense. It was the only map Zeta lost to Falcons, and even without the C9, they certainly performed worse on it than they did on NJC or King's Row. CR get the first ban, so they opt for a Kiriko ban. By not banning tank, they've opened themselves up to a ball ban from Zeta Division, but Zeta only has one of those to use in the whole series and they won't use it now. Because the ban was Kiriko, Zeta know that one way or another, Crazy Raccoons will be playing Ana, and they're comfy on Ana comps without the ball, so Zeta opt for the Echo ban. We roll out on these compositions, and immediately you may think this looks unwinnable for Zeta Division. Mauga wants to either hard engage or win the tank trade with the other team. Against Crazy Raccoon's comp, this is almost impossible. All of their squishies get to play nice and far away, and the best ball in the world is not about to sit there and just frontline a Mauga. So why still on Mauga? Sometimes your solutions have to be unorthodox, and perks are going to enable this one especially. This is a push map. Bot is everything. Zeta doesn't have to do literally anything besides push the point. Nobody on Crazy Raccoons can really stop that without exploding besides Junbin, which would be the tank trade that Bernard is looking for. 2 hearts and combat fuel enable this even harder, giving Mauga extra sustain to sit on point and live. If you can't reach your opponents, force them to come to you. This is a simple battle. Can Zeta Division do a better job surviving than Crazy Raccoons can pressuring them? While waiting for point to unlock, Crazy Raccoons have taken all the positions around the point. Once it unlocks, Zeta play their squishies nice and safe while Bernard pushes point. Junbin goes to wrap around, probably wanting to boop Zeta in so they can be punished better by his team, but Zeta is always vigilant for openings to push in. When Ball uses grapple and fireballs, the cooldown is 5 seconds. That is all Zeta has, but that's all they need. The moment they scout this, Finn pops down a speed ring and absolutely decimates Shu. Without Ball to punish their engagement, this is completely free since Shu used his nade earlier. Now, you may be asking yourself, is that really all it took? Grapple was the reason that Zeta could engage here? Was Junbin not just horrifically out of position regardless of cooldown? No, the grapple here was crucial. I return back to hitting the tail that I mentioned on Lijiang. Let's take another look at angles with the grid example from earlier. I don't want to confound hero and matchup specifics, I just want to talk about principle, so like earlier I'll just be using red and blue dots. We have the middle where the front line is. We have the backlines on the top and bottom, and then we have angles on the sides. Once a tank has an opening, they're going to push into the enemy backline who will then kite. This tank is now very far from their backline, but good backlines won't just sit here because it's safe, they'll push up to capitalize on the opening that their tank just made. The off angle of the team that just got pushed has a few choices. They can poke, which frankly does nothing given that their backline is getting slaughtered. They can go try to peel enemy tank, which might save their backline, but now there's the problem of the other team has all the space and there's no good way to make them give it back. However, as the enemy backline walks forward, that's where this off angle can get value. By attacking and investing cooldowns on them, they can be killed since they're so vulnerable without the protection of their tank and having used their cooldowns on the engagement. This way of attacking enemy backlines when the other team pushes is called hitting their tail. If we return to the fight at hand, we can see why grapple mattered so much. When the opponent pushes, you let the people they're pushing try to live and you try to punish the backline, but you need angles to do that. Let's say Junbin stays where he is, keeping both cooldowns and Zeta push in anyways. Zeta will lose in that case, whether their supports walk forwards or not. With either decision, Junbin will roll through onto the Juno Brig and one of Crazy Raccoon's DPS will go for a flank while the other stays on this line of sight. We actually see Crazy Raccoon's DPS do this in the match. This means that Junbin and a DPS will be engaging from different angles onto this backline who has already used most of their resources, resulting in kills. The same principle applies if Junbin is the one to flank insofar as he can actually go. Putting a warm body on an angle isn't enough since they need to be able to do something. If Junbin has a grapple here, he can intercept the support's rotation and most likely either Hiseng or Lip will be able to follow up with kills. Since he doesn't, Zeta Division get control of the point and the remaining 4 members of Crazy Raccoons end up on the other side of the map. Sorry, was yapping about Overwatch macro. For the next fight, Crazy Raccoons should be able to contest just before the checkpoint, but Junbin messes up his rollout, barely giving Zeta the point. For the fight at hand, Crazy Raccoons has taken all of the high grounds and space around the point. Junbin goes to distract backline and finally forces Bernard off the point. Flora and Violet are split, and while Lip does need to help punish them, I don't think he got the Bernard memo because he got jump scared and picked off. Flora gets traded, but another problem is being posed for Crazy Raccoons. Once Zeta is stabilized, you need to take very specific positions to actually be able to shoot them. How do you do that while Zeta try to push the point? Well, in this case they actually don't. They allow Zeta to sit there and survive while stopping the point push because they're playing for something else. While Chorong does this, Junbin is in the backline sending Flora to spawn a second time. Junbin finally has a flank and it's time for Crazy Raccoons to develop angles. Is what I would say, but Junbin goes for a slam 1v5, gets no value, gets every cooldown forced, and Zeta is now free to go for yet another hard engagement. They get Hiseng, Junbin, and win this team fight. The next fight features a similar sight with Crazy Raccoons unable to swing due to Bernard's cage, Junbin getting forced out, and Zeta engaging hard with Blade, but ultimates overcome all, and using 3 of them, Crazy Raccoons take the fight. We finally see Crazy Raccoons with point control for the first time this series, but Zeta do not like this position one bit. They're willing to invest Violet's rally just to zone off Crazy Raccoons and move somewhere else with the bot. We end up back where first fight was, and with the help of a nade from Shu, Junbin goes for an engagement to set up Heesang for a barrage, but Flora has scouted it and it gets shut down by the OC, with Junbin down not long after. CR's backline dies on point slowly over time here. By dying late, Crazy Raccoon's backline bought time for Junbin and Heesang to respawn, meaning that Junbin could touch, leave, and repeat. This slows Zeta's point progress and actually gave Heesang a really strong flank in the process. That being said, Zeta are once again taking advantage of the flanks being unable to act. Hook, line, and sinker. No angle means no pressure means Zeta hard engage with Ray to win this fight. Zeta is already knocking on the world's best team's spawn doors, but they're at a major ultimate disadvantage. Using Minefield followed by a Nano with Shrike, Junbin, Heesang, and Shu are able to run in aggressively, netting the kills CR desperately needs to stay alive in this map. It's at this point Junbin swaps over to Doomfist. This swap is quite crucial for changing up the playstyle, and it all comes down to perks. Ball is a tank that wants to go in, get out, and repeat that. Ball's perks of Pack Rat and Transfer Efficiency are really strong for this playstyle because they reduce how long he's out of the fight when he gets his health bar chunked. The problem with these perks in this match, though, is that Zeta hasn't been going in when Junbin is low health and forced out. They've been going off of his grapple and slam cooldowns. Doom's playstyle, on the other hand, sees to it that he's never completely out of the fight. Sure, he's gonna in and out like Ball, but because his CDs are so short and he's always going back to his team, he's rarely completely inactive or unable to get value. Add on Survival of the Fittest and Power Matrix, and he pretty much has full uptime of getting value. This shift is a direct counter to how Zeta has been playing this so far. Crazy Raccoons enter next fight with a slight advantage in ultimates, but they'll need to act fast to use it before Zeta build Cage and Ray. They do this with Heesang going for a quick barrage onto Flora. As they chase the kill onto Finn, both teams pop rally and Flora comes back from spawn with OC, but Crazy Raccoons end up on top. This long fight meant that Bernard was able to return quickly from spawn to touch before checkpoint for the next fight, where Junbin flies just a tad too close to the sun and gets caged. With no tank, CR opt for a reset, leading us to this teamfight here. With 2 minutes on the clock, closing the gap is already a tall task, but doing so after losing this fight? You may as well just give up. The #1 team in the world must win this fight to have a chance of winning the map. Junbin goes in with Heesang, with Shu swinging with the nano boost, eliminating Violet and looking ready to finish off Zeta Division, but Pelican is on point. With how far back the barricade is, Crazy Raccoons have to go back to touch, and Flora's railgun tells Heesang no way. Junbin also went to touch point, meaning Shu and Chorong are abandoned, giving Bernard the engagement, and even a pick onto Pelican isn't enough to save CR's backline. Crazy Raccoons make some swaps, winning the fight at their spawn doors, but there's no ultimates left in their bank. With 5 ultimates, Zeta Division win the last fight and the second map, leaving them up 2-0 in the series. This is now uncharted territory. Zeta Division, to my knowledge, has never had a lead like this against Crazy Raccoons. Every fan of Zeta Division, everyone who's been following the top teams in the world, and everyone who loves an underdog was watching on the edge of their seats to see if they could make history. Only one more map is needed. We move on to Suravasa with Crazy Raccoons banning Juno, hoping to put a stop to Bernard's Mauga clinic while Zeta Division use this opportunity for their one and only ball ban. Before we get into this, I want to warn you that the overheads may be few and far between on this map because there just aren't many good ways to record them with all the inside points. We roll out with both teams on dive compositions with Sojourn and Pharah. Somehow, these are the most normal comps we've seen the whole video. The main difference in these comps is that Crazy Raccoon's choice of Winston and Lucio, opting for all-out aggression, and Zeta Division's choices of Diva and Brig, hoping to play a bit slower and sustain. It's at the start of this fight that Lip's brain turns on for the first time the whole series. The 2 remaining brain cells that he has after getting them all fried by Mauga for the last 2 maps rub together, and he forms a critical thought. Wait a minute, I'm the best player of all time. After remembering this, he almost takes off Flora's head, completely winning the right side lane, making room for Junbin to dive in aggressively, to which Lip follows up with a perfectly placed disruptor shot, forcing Zeta to give up all the space and the point capture. Zeta try to run back in, sustaining the next dive with Nano. Crazy Raccoons give the point, but Heesang's brain is also on and he wants vengeance for Lijiang, getting the nano boost and dueling Heesang just for the aura boost. He uses Barrage, chunking Bernard's health bar, and as Bernard backs, we see the support GOAT completely split. Crazy Raccoons rush him down, taking him out, demeching Bernard in the process, and recapturing the point. The rest of this fight is chaotic, but ends up with CR winning the point. Next point, we see Violet swapping over to the Illari, with Zeta Division being the first team present. This is our setup, and we can see a huge amount of ultimates going into this team fight, but only one ult was needed to decide it, as Shu was up all night watching Pixar's Cars 2 on repeat, zooming all the way to a flank with Chorong for a huge nade with the help of a beat. Junbin diving in and making space for Lip to once again assert he is the best of all time, dominantly winning this fight. Bernard opts for the swap onto Hazard for the next fight. He's been outspeeding Crazy Raccoons all series, but has been on the back foot this map, so this change could mean everything. Junbin jumps in with the nade from Shu. He gets his Primal Forced, and Lip uses the attention to kill Flora, with Chorong picking Violet. With time for one more quick reset, Zeta Division come back and try to touch the point by nanoing Flora, and it's not enough. He couldn't make it. Crazy Raccoons are up 2-0 on Surabasa. With some late kills onto their opponents at the end of last point, we see Zeta Division get first capture of Fountain. It's a huge mountain to climb from here, but anything they can get helps. Alpha Yi scouts Crazy Raccoon's rotation, but it's already too late. Anything you can do, I can do better, says Junbin to Bernard as he dives across space and time to take out Flora and Finn. Crazy Raccoons push up to poke Zeta's spawn, and it takes them so long to clear that we're already at 50%. If Zeta want to 3-0 this series, they can't lose this fight. They have Downpour and Barrage ready to go. If just one of these ultimates can secure a pick, it'll be enough. Bernard pushes to the top left with Alpha Yi and Violet, chunking Heesang to low health, but the nano boost is here. Heesang fires back and Violet falls. Even worse, Junbin's gas pedal is pushing through the floor of his car because he once again instant transmissions to Finn and Flora, removing them from the equation. Down 2, it's up to Bernard, the most glazable tank in Korea to carry, but it's too little too late. Crazy Raccoons take map 3. Finally, the undefeatable Crazy Raccoons have woken up, and with such a dominant map 3, any momentum Zeta Division has had in this series has been shattered. Just like with Falcons though, this is a steep hill to climb for Crazy Raccoons. Zeta have the map pick and first ban for the next 2 maps, and also much like the Falcons series, Zeta go to King's Row. They go for the Zarya ban. This is what we'll call a protect ban. Only one hero from a role can be banned per map, so because Zeta bans Zarya, Crazy Raccoons can't ban Mauga, and furthermore they won't be able to pick Zarya versus the diva that we know Bernard wants to play on this map. Crazy Raccoons respond with a Pharah ban, which would take potency from both comps that Zeta want to play here. First fight begins with this comp matchup and Zeta Division on attack. This is a completely different scenario from Esperança because pressuring point isn't nearly as urgent of a threat on this map as it was on push, and without the option of Pharah, Zeta Division has no way to zone off the huge ranged impact of Ana and Ashe. If there's any time for Junbin's ball to come in clutch, it's now. Bernard rotates into the Mega, hoping to create some pressure onto this high ground, and Junbin isn't about to wait around for him to set up, slamming onto Zeta's backline with follow-up from I wish I had a good Terry Crews impression because damn, Flora! Zeta Division once again used Junbin's cooldown downtime to make their move, opting to capture the point. Junbin touches last second, but the problem now is that he is a giant circle that is forced to stay on open space versus Mauga. Having just lost first point, Crazy Raccoons have an insane task ahead of them because the space just isn't as open on the rest of King's Row. It's not as good for ball, so they swap over to Doomfist and Zenyatta. This comp is all about uptime. Every time all series that Zeta has won, it's been during some kind of downtime from Junbin. By picking a comp much more focused on keeping their tank in the fight, Crazy Raccoons can try to counter this. Zeta Division push up deep to poke their opponent's spawn, and next fight could lead to Zeta Division capping second point in record time, and yeah, so by the way, there's a bug with replay codes on this patch which causes it to unavoidably crash at certain points. So quite literally, the only footage I could get of this next 2 fights was from the OWCS broadcast. Junbin pushes up to touch, and as Zeta push up to punish this, he gets hit with the Nano, forcing Zeta Division to kite away. Crazy Raccoons now have time to set up their defense, but there's a huge problem. They just used Nano Boost. Heesang missed his Pulse Bomb, and both Chorong and Junbin just swapped. They have one ultimate in Ashe's Bob, and it's not a particularly powerful one against Mauga. Zeta Division abused this, and steamroll with 3 ultimates, finishing second point. Going on to third point, Crazy Raccoons are going to have to pull off a 4.5 minute hold. A tall order, but this first fight should be very possible. Zeta has 2 ultimates, but Crazy Raccoons have 1, and because of how fast Nano builds, they're coming up on 2 more. But Zeta is 2 steps ahead, with Pelican on the flank with Blizzard, which he uses to pick off 2 members of Crazy Raccoons. They try to touch, but it's simply not enough with the major positional advantage that Zeta has. Zeta, on match point, have capped all 3 points with over 3 minutes left. At this point in the series, I'm sure many of you would be jumping for joy. How could you possibly lose this? You have all the momentum, you have an almost unclimbable mountain for your opponents, and you have defender's advantage. Zeta Division won't get this luxury though, because Crazy Raccoons can never be counted out. They pull out this dive comp that's pretty close to the one they rolled through Suravasa with. The pick of the Hanzo is a bit strange here, but the ability to one-shot without the same level of vulnerability as a Widowmaker offers a strong asset. Crazy Raccoons take high ground with a quick bubble dive and appear to be in a good spot to win the fight, but Lip's position is crucial here. This map marks the 3rd time on this channel I've covered the D.Va Mei Ashe defense from Zeta Division on this map, and one of the main reason it works is because there's no way to truly take all of the space from them. D.Va, Ashe, and Ana fight the high grounds and Mei holds the hotel. You may think that this problem is solved now that CR have won this space, but no. If nobody contests the hotel position, they can simply use Maywall to help them rotate and flip the map, with Zeta taking offense's side. Lip playing here is specifically to avoid that, but he's far too close. Bernard is able to push him with Pelican, and things look good for Zeta to flip the map, but Hiseng and Chorong are on the case. They were just fast enough to engage on Finn and Flora that can't drop to hotel and have to kite to second point. They get chased. Chorong trades himself for Violet, and with only 1 support left for Crazy Raccoons, Bernard flies at the Ana and Zeta clean up Junbin and Shu, but Crazy Raccoons is on attack. While the Juno gets all the members of Zeta Division back to the fight in time, they're all shoved into the choke. Junbin takes the high ground, gets forced off, and while Hiseng tries to help, he gets abandoned. Violet looks to seal the deal, but Hiseng deflects the nade. This is huge and could win the fight for Crazy Raccoons, but they just aren't ready to follow up, and Hiseng gets picked. CR opt out for a reset to try one more time. Lip goes for the same play as before, but Crazy Raccoons keep their backline on low ground to sustain him. How will they take high grounds now? A nano onto Hiseng solves that problem, and as Flora swings to bob the point, he gets antied and taken out. Finn drops the orbital ray to sustain this dive. Hiseng pops the blade to out DPS it, and Violet reminds us while Falcons lost the last set, taking out the blade. While Zeta's backline is living the dive, Chorong and Lip get smothered by this Mei and D.Va, but Chorong pops the rally and stuns Pelican out of his blizzard. This momentary lapse in pressure lets Lip kill Finn and in turn kills Violet too. Finally, we see some life from Crazy Raccoons on this map as they capture first point, and Junbin goes over to the Ramatra. On this linear point, he is extremely powerful into the D.Va, and with Hiseng on Tracer now, there isn't a Genji in major need of enabling. Bernard tries to hold the choke, hoping his team can sustain him, but Junbin places a perfect shield, denying any heals that Bernard could get and runs at him with the Nemesis form. Bernard tries to kite, but Lip cuts it off with the Dragon Strike. Bernard uses Bomb to remake, and in the chaos, Pelican thinks he can kill Chorong, but Shu hits a Sleep Dart, and Zeta opt to wait for their 5th member. As the cart rounds the final corner, Bernard just can't find a way around this ram, having to run away at the mere sight of Nemesis form, giving Crazy Raccoons all the space in the world, and both Anas have Shrike at this point. They nano their tank and push in, but Shu's nade hits Violet while the opposite is not true. Violet gets picked, but Hiseng falls in the crossfire. There's absolutely no way Bernard can stop Junbin, so Zeta pop the orbital ray and rush onto Chorong, taking him out. The kite from every other member of Crazy Raccoons was too good to follow up, so Zeta need to regroup, and Junbin's ultimate is all that's needed to get 2 picks. Chorong is back from spawn, and as Junbin falls, it's a 4v3 for Crazy Raccoons. Violet falls first, then Lip. Chorong is so close to getting Flora, but Bernard is back just in time to help save him, and as Finn returns and Pelican uses copy, Zeta Division managed to barely hold on to this point. Crazy Raccoons are onto Doom, Widow, and Kiriko, and they have one goal. Use Kiriko to enable Hiseng and create as much chaos as possible, to make room for an anti-nade or a one-shot from Lip. But nothing can save this Kiri Tracer angle from the wrath of Finn, who takes both of them out. They're up 2 now. If Zeta Division can chase and finish the kills, they will have done the impossible and beaten Crazy Raccoons. They chase in for kills and get Lip. Shu has to nano Junbin for the absolute last-ditch effort. He goes in and Daddy is back with the belt hitting a huge sleep dart, but Shu fires back with an anti and a kill onto Finn as Junbin falls. Crazy Raccoons are 3v4 and Zeta realize they can't get any more kills, so they kite. Hiseng touches point. Junbin is almost back, but CR have no angles whatsoever. They need a play, and Shu is here from the top ropes with the RKO nade, which zones off Violet from helping Pelican and right into Lip's line of sight. Up 2 now, Crazy Raccoons take second point in overtime. Winning the map at this point is unlikely, but if they can cap, they can force a draw here and win the next 2 maps. Zeta Division set up far back into the map. They don't care about this fight, they just care about time and delaying Crazy Raccoon's setup. But Hiseng says no and pulse bombs Violet. Now if Crazy Raccoons can force the kills quickly, they can actually capture with time and win this entire map. Zeta is falling behind on the back foot, but in their time of need, Pelican is here with the under-the-map flank, and Finn is here with Transcendence to keep him up. Crazy Raccoons have to reset now. Our ultimate economies look even, but the scales are about to tip, as Zeta use Bomb, which Crazy Raccoons kite followed by Copy, which is also kited. Huge ultimate advantages here for Crazy Raccoons, and they engage with a nano onto Junbin, but Shrike once again comes in clutch, keeping both of Zeta's supports up. While nanoed, Finn is out for blood and sprints into Crazy Raccoon's backline, forcing beat and getting picked while Junbin pops ult and kills Flora. The best in the world are about to capture this against all odds.
Speed. Faster than fast, quicker than quick. I am lightning.
Despite being down 2 and risking staggering themselves at this crucial moment, Pelican and Bernard remember their strategy that got them the first 2 map wins and put everything into their aggression. Zeta Division having seized their moment, taking advantage of the new meta and cementing themselves for the very first time at the top of Korea and the world. Wow, what a set of matches we saw today. I must affirm that winning a single match doesn't mean everything. Zeta ended up losing to Crazy Raccoons 2-4 just a week later, but this is still the first time that anyone besides Falcons has beaten Crazy Raccoon, and the first time that Zeta has, for even just a moment, stood at the top of Korea. You guys said you liked the full series format in my last video, so I gave you 2 series at once, hoping to tell the story of why, right now, the top 3 in Korea may be shifting like never before. Thanks for watching, leave a like, comment, and subscribe.